Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Tuesday. Everybody see clear? Everybody hear clear? Let's go ahead and get this thing started. Hannah will pop on here in a moment. Sorry about run a little late today. I got stuck in traffic. Usually start at 8:30, but here we are, live and direct. Let's get it. I got a very interesting day ahead of us. Very interesting day. And with that being said, let's go ahead and lock in, y'all. Here we are. Today is September 16th. We do have data that was released at 8:30. That was retail sales. Nothing really extravagant happened there. But what I really want to talk about is the current state of these charts going into FOMC tomorrow. There's one thing for sure, and there's two things for certain. We are overextended. From this monthly low, we're up about 45%. If you look at this from a weekly perspective, we really haven't had a pullback, right? There's been no significant pullback since this low, right? We're up essentially 50% with no real weekly pullback. Like, this is not a pullback. This is not a pullback. This is not a pullback. This is kind of a pullback, but not really. It's more of a consolidation. So we really haven't had a pullback since low 16,000 on NQ. That's absolutely insane, right? It's now becoming a matter of when, not if, right? So am I bearish? No, I'm not quite bearish, right? I'm more bullish into tomorrow, but after tomorrow, I do think that we see some nice downside. And with that being said, first thing I like to focus on is obviously the bearish divergence, right? That is very evident between the monthly, the weekly, the daily. It is very, very exaggerated, and it is there. Now, what I want to talk about here on NQ is where we're currently trading, right? We're very, 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 very far from demand, right? We're very far from demand. There's no demand here. There's no demand here. There's no demand here. There's no demand here. There's no demand here, right? We have a long way down. And with that being said, that's kind of this watch into FOMC, right? As you guys can see on this chart, major demand, 24,300, and then we have a minor level here, 24,400. Right now, we're trading at 24,600. We're 200 points away from the next demand. So there is a lot of opportunity on this chart if we do pull back. We do have a very, very minor level here at 24,550, which was those previous all-time highs. So we can use that as reference for today. But my whole mindset going into FOMC is one, risk off, have a defensive approach. After FOMC, we can kind of shift things again. But what I'm watching here is these previous all-time highs, 24,550. We're going to do two things. We're going to pull back, we're going to hold, we're going to continue higher. Or we're going to pull back, we're going to break, we're going to fail, and we're going to trade back into this demand. That is the top watch here, right? Either a hold of 24,550 today for longs, or back below 550 today for shorts. Back down into 24,400, 24,300, and that's where we can look for a more higher conviction bounce on NQ. We're in desperate need of a pullback. That is the bottom line. ES, strong as an ox, but again, we really haven't had a pullback since those daily lows. And like I said, it's just getting unsustainable. So what we're watching here on ES is fairly simple as well. You guys can see this structure is very clean, right? Higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. We need a pullback, right? Does that mean we're going to pull back? No. But in the case that we do, what we need to be watching today is this 6680 level. For those who don't know, yesterday the contracts adjusted. That is why we're looking at different levels, okay? Rolled over to the December contracts, I think. Yeah, last quarterly contracts, December contracts. And that is why there's a Z at the end versus a U. So what we're watching here on ES, 6680, this is my first level of interest here. All-time highs being right around 6,700, okay? So what we're watching today is we're watching for this pullback into 6680 or 6660 for a demand hold for longs. That's scenario number one. Number two is if we break 6,700, sure, we could possibly see more upside, but I would be more inclined to watch for a break of 6,700, fail, and that would be a short opportunity. Or if we just get weak off the open below 6680, that should trigger lower into 6660 and potentially down into this 6640, maybe even low 6600s, okay? RTY, I would say this is probably the cleanest chart short right now due to the level that we've been talking about for pretty much all week. Last week, 2414 was that major resistance here. We attempted to break it. We made a high and we failed. Now we are pinned back below that 2414. So our game plan here on RTY is as simple as 2400 and 2414. Pull back, hold 2400. That would be your long scenario. Pop into 2414, fail. That would be your short scenario. The obvious setups here, we want continuation, okay? So longs above 2414, that's your trigger for longs. Below 2400, that is your trigger for shorts, okay? And that's that simple. So what I encourage you to do here, set alerts at 2400, set alerts at 2414, okay? YM, this is another chart I absolutely love. We've been talking about this demand since last week. Level is 46,100 now. The previous level was 45,800, but since contracts adjusted, the level is now 46,150. As you guys can see here, we do have kind of a flip, right? We have a high, a lower high, lower low, lower high, and now we're within this channel. So what we're watching here on YM is simply that channel low and that channel high. We're watching for obviously a break, a failure for shorts, a break and failure for longs. But the most obvious setups that we really want to trade are going to be the breakdown of 46,150, right? That's the A plus breakdown, or the reclaim of 46,350 hold for longs. Okay, so we're essentially just watching a break of the range. Two most important levels here are 46,350 and 46,150. This is another chart where you just set alerts and be patient on. Silver and gold. Very strong, right? I caught a nice little short on gold last night, but that was quickly bought back up. Woke up this morning, got stopped out. But silver here, extremely bullish, long as we're above 42.3, 42.5. Quick little analysis on gold. I mean, this chart is the little train that could, right? Last night caught a nice short from 37.25 to about 37.15, roughly $600 a contract, and got stopped out while I was sleeping. But big level now here is this 37.15. Right, long as we're above this is a bullish chart. Okay, long as we're above 37.15, that is bullish. If we fail 37.15, that is when this chart can start to shift. Okay, I'm gonna go over two individual names, and I'll let Hannah go over her watches, because a lot of times we're watching the same thing. So I'll let her cover all that in QQQ and SPY as well. I do want to go over Tesla. Right, that's the one I really want to go over. Big level here, 400. If we can get that pull back into 400 today, kind of build a base, that's the top long watch. If we lose that 400, it's very likely we do see more downside back into that 380, 370, which we can look for a much higher conviction bounce down at that 370, 380 area. Okay, so big levels today on Tesla, 400, really this week, 400, 380, 370. Next, QCOM, slowly starting to build, right? We're seeing a slow little creep here. 164. You guys know this is the almighty level. If we can get that break and hold, that is the ultimate breakout and potentially a nice swing for us. So keep an eye on that 164 level. As you guys can see, I have my alert set, so I will be keeping a close eye on this as well. Outside of that, pretty much same thing we've been watching, right? Today's the pre-FOMC day. Tomorrow is FOMC, so it's very likely we see some wonky action. I would encourage everybody to be risk off, right? Come into the day with a more defensive approach, and then after FOMC, we can be more aggressive. But Meta, same watch as yesterday. AMD, same watch as yesterday. Microsoft, I do want to talk about for 1 second, which is this major 512. 514 demand. We were below it, now we're above it. So what we're looking for here on Microsoft is a pullback 512, 514 hold for longs, or we're looking for a pullback failure of that 512 for shorts. And it's pretty much that simple. And yeah, man, I don't want to take up too much of Hannah's time. I'm going to go ahead and let her do her thing. And I will see you guys on Zoom Live in a little bit for live trading. Hannah, you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Good
Awesome.
morning, everyone. Let me get my screen shared real quick. All right. Can everybody see this? All right, perfect. All right, I'm just gonna go over SPY and Qs really quick. I came in when Val was talking about futures, so I don't know if you went over this already, but just want to let you guys know my game plan. As you can see, we're just obviously bull trend for right now, just making higher highs, higher lows, all of that. But I'm not going to touch SPY and QQQ, especially going into FOMC tomorrow. I don't care what we do today. I'm just not going to be chasing these highs. I did hear him say, obviously this, I won't say that we're, timing the top or anything like that, but it's just not sustainable to just like keep pumping highs, keep pumping highs. I do think that this is just pricing in whatever's going to happen tomorrow with the rate cuts and all of that. But we definitely need to pull back. So until that pullback happens and we meet any of these, previous highs, areas of demand, I'm not going to be interested in trying to catch a play on this. I'm not gonna lie, there's been like some counter trend trades that I took just trying to time that pullback. But I'm not gonna keep doing that because at this point it's just like to the point where I would deserve to lose money if I were to do that. Just like obviously this morning making new highs. I'm just not interested. So I'm not going to signal anything for Spire Qs until we get any of these demand pullbacks. Ideally, I really like the 655 yesterday, but as we're ranking new highs, we'll just have to wait and see what the market gives us. Like, don't try to time it. Don't try to, get ahead of it. Just wait for the market to give you opportunity, wait for us to pull back, build a base, and then formulate a plan from there. Same thing with Qs. I feel like intraday, just watching them side by side, I've been noticing QQQ has a little bit more strength, or there's just like a big divergence. Like SPY will be super strong and Qs will be weak, or Qs will be super strong and SPY will be selling off a little bit. So that coupled with where we are at all-time highs, it's just not ideal to try to, trade these right now. Or I should say day trade these. Again, just waiting for a pullback. If we pull back today, let's say on Qs, and we lose this like little demand area around this 590, I think it'll get really interesting because the pump into it yesterday was so aggressive. And then we just consolidate it and then we get another leg up. So this might have been that last leg up before, like I said, we get that pullback. But I'm just marking it out and I'm just going to watch intraday until, like I said, I want to see us build a base, but I'm not touching this. I'm not actively placing a trade until after FOMC tomorrow. So that's my plan. Let's see. I think Phil already went over Tesla. Let's go over Apple. Apple for me above this 235, we're just kind of building, like we had this big push, bull flag. We're just kind of building, building, building. Apple tends to do this. I've noticed that over the last really all year. Like we'll make this big move and then we'll just consolidate, consolidate, consolidate for however long, and then we'll get another big move. So for me, I'm just kind of watching this consolidation. If we break out back into the supply area that I previously had, it'll be interesting to me that this 240, 241 area, depending on what the breakout looks like. Or if we lose this 235, really no, 233. If we lose 233, I would take that short back down to 230, 229, and then 226 again. So that's just an either or scenario on Apple. Like I said, it's usually just consolidation though. I'm not going to try to catch, this range, but if we break either to the downside or this upside, that could be a nice mover. Um, Let's see. Oh, I think Bella already went over Microsoft. Same watch for me. We're right into this 518 zone. If we pull back to this 514 and old, or even this 511 for me, that'd be a nice play. Microsoft has been kind of wonky, just kind of choppy, but the levels are there. So I just want to kind of keep this on side watch. Depends on what the market does. But focusing more on individuals, going into FOMC, that's just something that I want to watch as well. Let's go. Nvidia. This 172 hold has been interesting. We made a little bit of like a supply broke through and then retested as demand. Unfortunately, this happened yesterday pre-market, so we can really catch it. As long as we're above this 174, 175, I'm just kind of watching this build back into 180. Obviously, the big level here is this 184 that we just never cracked its all-time highs. If we get back above 180, obviously that's gonna be top watch, it's 184. But in this range, I'm not interested in taking it. I just want to keep the levels there on watch. For some reason, if the market gets weak, we do get that pullback. If we lose 172, then again, that could be a nice move back to this like 168, 167. But just wanted to put the levels out there along with AMD. as long as we're above this 160 and we're building into this 164, I like it. I don't want to try to like chase any chop in between, but the 160, yeah, 164, 164.50 break could give that nice move into 168. So 164, I'm gonna set an alert both 164, 164.50. I just want to see what the move looks like if we get it. Obviously high volume break, look for either retest, pullback, or use that breaking candle as your stop. But I like that. AMD just randomly will, get these moves and these really aggressive moves. So right now it's a slow build. That's why I'm not too, excited to just try to catch it because we could very well just get whipped out like this. But again, just depending on what the break looks like, I'm interested in that. Um, Netflix has been nice. Obviously, this isn't for small accounts, but if you can, like the levels that Netflix has been respected, and the moves have obviously been really nice. Last Friday was really nice, this 1212 level. So we're building back into it after this break and hold at 1200. If we can get a break and hold of 1212, it could be a nice move back to like 1230, 1230. Actually, no, these levels got blown through. Let's say, yeah, like 1230. So just keep it on watch. Obviously, like I said, if you have a small account, don't even worry about it because Netflix contracts, they're even too expensive for me. I like to usually trade this on like a Friday because you have to go super far out of the money. But again, the moves are really nice once they do happen. So if you are interested in trying to take this, depending on what the contracts look like, you'd have to go honestly like 30, 40, maybe even $50 out of the money. So they're really expensive, but I do like this hold or this 1177 yesterday. And it was a clean shot back to 1200, break and hold, retest, pre-market, and now we're here. So just keep it on watch if you are a Netflix mover or a player. If not, don't worry about it. And then Google, I can't even believe Google. It's just every day, honestly, just like pumping, like the strength is incredible. I will say this pullback here is interesting. If we lose this 252, obviously when you're watching this demand zone here, like 250 to 248. If the market gets super weak, Qs gets weak, tech starts selling off, and we lose that 248 for me. I'm gonna be watching this demand around like 242-ish. But that's a ways away, obviously, $10 move. But as you can see, like the past few days, that was nothing for Google. I don't really know, honestly, why it's so strong. Just the news that it's had, like they've gotten sued, they've had like all kinds of things happening, but it just continues to pump higher. But I do like this break, a 252 down to 250. So that's something that could be on watch off the open. But yeah, it's just like, you don't want to try to just assume what's gonna happen because I feel like the rationale of the market has not been like anything I've seen. It's like we're just pumping and pumping and pumping higher. I think you guys have seen the stats on September is usually a bearish month. Obviously, we're only 2 weeks in, so I feel like a lot of people have just had that bias of like, oh, let's go short. September is, a bearish month, and we're just the market is completely just humbled anybody thinking that they know what's going to happen. So again, we're only halfway through the month. Anything could happen, but I'm personally just being super cautious, waiting for pullbacks. I'm not going to try to chase highs, even though it's exciting to watch and exciting to see. Like long term, I'm really happy, but the day trades on this of like everything that we know about market structure and coming back to retest demand and pullbacks and all that just hasn't been happening, at least during regular market hours. So just don't try to just jump ahead of this and think like, okay, well, I'm going to get the absolute top because nobody knows. Nobody knows when it's going to happen. It's coming, so we just have to wait and be patient for that. But that's all that I have. Again, I'm not going to be too aggressive going into FOMC. That's really what I'm waiting for all of that to happen. I think contracts will also, the IV going into tomorrow is going to be pumping, but after that, obviously Thursday and Friday after FOMC are my favorite days to trade. So I'm kind of just saving all my mental capital for that. But that's all I really have. If anybody has any tickers I might want to go over, I don't know if Val has anything else you wanted to go over with you guys.
Hannah, thank you for taking your time this morning. I'm good to go. If you got anything else you want to go over, what time's it? 9:03. Yeah, I gotta go ahead and eat my breakfast and get ready for market open. Um, yeah, man. Thank you, Hannah, for taking your time to hop on this morning. Minties and WAP, we'll see you guys here in a few minutes. Everybody else, hopefully you guys have a great day. Reminder, it is pre-FOMC. Tomorrow is FOMC at 2 p.m. And then JPOW speaks at 2:30. I will go live tomorrow for FOMC as well. And we'll do a pre-market, not a pre-market tomorrow. We'll do our usual live trading in the morning. And then I'll hop on for FOMC. So tomorrow we'll do 2 Zooms. And yeah, man. Manifesting a bright green day for everyone. Today's a day, like I said, where you definitely want to play defense. There could be nice opportunity, but it's better to be safe than sorry, right? Yeah, man. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Hannah, everybody, I'll see you guys here in a few minutes. Everybody else, hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Again, trade safe, trade smart. Thank you, Hannah. See you guys in a little bit.
Yeah, of course. See you guys later.